Hello again, everyone, and welcome to the end of week 4. It's once again almost 10 p.m. at night on Sunday before week 5 starts, so it just seems to be when I get time to do these things. I've actually been happy. I've already been getting several views and even comments on these, so I'm glad that people are finding them useful. A lot of people are asking questions about the PT. Don't freak out too much about the PT. So what you want to do is look up the PRT standards for your age and gender. So it'll list out, that's the actual test, right? So how many push-ups you need to do, how long your plank has to be, and how fast your 1.5-mile run has to be. So that's the actual test you need to do. But to be honest, to prep for ODS, I would say get into a habit of an all over body workout program. It doesn't have to be anything super extreme. Like I've said in some of the comments, we have everybody here from 20-year-old athletes through people that are in their 50s, and everybody from, some people here probably are like 8% body fat, and then we have some people that are, I will just say, considerably more than that. Really, you do want to be in a halfway decent physical shape for naval service. The reserves, I believe, that's what I'm in the reserves, is I think we only do the PRT now once a year, and I think active duty you have to do it twice a year. For the PT here at ODS, you will largely do it most mornings from about 5 to 6 in the morning, and a lot of it is HIIT workouts, right, like high intensity. So a lot of like push-ups and squats and jumping jacks and leg lifts, things like that. And they mix it up. We had one day where they had a whole bunch of stations, and we went out and we'd be at each station for something like 3-4 minutes, and we'd be doing tire flips, or we'd be doing kettlebell swings, or they had like the ropes that I don't know what it's called, where you grab the ropes and you're sitting there and, moving them up and down. Largely, they want to see that you are putting in the effort, that you are trying. They want to hit what you think is your limit and push you past it slightly, right? They don't want to put you into the danger zone to where you're going to have to call a training timeout. But, they do want to challenge you. After week 4, during PT, I can only think of one training timeout that I saw happen. And it was somebody who they were having a dietary issue where they couldn't eat fully because of religious accommodations. So that got squared away pretty quickly, but that was the reason that they called their training timeout. And I'll get into a little bit of PT during this. So week 4, let's talk about this week. This was actually, I think, kind of a fun week. So I think it's something for you to look forward to. When you hit week 4, by this point, we had a lot of privileges. We could take our phones with us. And a lot of it, right, is be smart. You're an officer. So if you have your phones with you, have them on silent, and don't be sitting there and doing this in the middle of lecture. You need to be respectful with them. You need to have them down and put away when lecture is going on. But on the breaks and when you have time in between, then yes. But you shouldn't have them out in formation when you're trying to march and they're saying left, right, left, and you're like, let me check my Snapchat. So this week was the tech trainers. So what that is they split us into. It was a confusing week because largely we've been doing everything together as a whole class, or at most as you'll generally have 2 companies. So we had Yankee Company and November Company, but this week the tech trainers can only accommodate so many people at a time. So they had us split into several smaller groups, and it got a little confusing to figure out where you needed to be. They had AM groups and PM groups and Monday groups, Tuesday groups, Wednesday groups, Thursday groups. So it was a little confusing, but at the same point, like I said, this week was definitely less stressful. We had more time to ourselves this week, and I'll talk about that in a minute. So the general schedule of Monday through Thursday is Just think of it like Groundhog's Day, right? Where every day is the exact same thing happening, and you are just going to a different thing. So I can kind of tell you the order that I did it in, but other people, or when you get here, your order might be different. So Monday through Thursday, you only go to PT one time, and because everything is the exact same all week long. So that PT was they were teaching us, basically it was like tactical movements. So they were showing us how to do a low crawl tactically, right? That would be sort of like if there's active incoming fire and you need to like hit the ground and actually try to make some movement, but be as low as possible so that any fire were to go over your head. And then there's a high crawl where you're just slightly higher and you're sort of like up on your arms for that one. We were doing like stop and go movements where you're quickly sprinting and then going down. Let's see, they were showing us the fireman carry. So sort of like a buddy assist where if you had a squad mate go down and you had to carry them. Also a drag. So you'd have to have somebody sit down on the ground and somebody else would stand behind them and wrap their arms behind them and, try to drag them something like 50 feet. So it was a lot of tactical movements. It wasn't anything super hard or super stressful. We did get soaked because the grass is wet in the morning, but that wasn't bad, and that was kind of fun to do. So that's the only PT that you'll have Monday through Thursday. I'll go ahead and jump ahead and talk about the Friday one just because I'm talking about PT. So that was the Ruck March. So what we did for that is we joined up with the OCS group. So ODS is only here for 5 weeks, and everybody here is already a commissioned officer. OCS it's either a 12 or 13 week program, and they're trying to earn their commission. So they are not officers yet. Their program is considerably more stressful than what ODS goes through. So you will see them around a lot, but the groups are separate. But we will occasionally PT with them at the same time, like out on the field, and we did the Ruck March with them. So everybody the day prior had to go down and get a 25-pound sandbag, and you had to empty out your backpack because everybody had to have that black backpack, and you had to put that sandbag inside your backpack, and then put it over your shoulders. And we were all in our PT gear, and then we just did our Ruck March it was something like 40 to 50 minutes. And it was a little impressive because you have the OCS group, which is slightly smaller than us. They're probably, let's say, 80 to 100 people in size. And then our group, ODS, is more like 180 people in size. And it was a good pace. I'd say we probably kept up about a 4 mile per hour pace. You tried to stay in line, but if you couldn't, then, they just said move to the center, and drop back, let other people, like faster people go around you. It was something pressing for a lot of people. It is a fairly heavy weight to be carrying on your back, having that sandbag back there. The pace was fairly quick. We weren't jogging or running, but it's not a comfortable walk, and that's intentional, right? They want you to be pushing yourself. I did see one injury, I think, out of it, and you're talking about 300 people. So I saw, I think, one injury, maybe two. I think somebody had some sort of sprained hamstring or something. And then somebody else was on the ground. I think they sprained their ankle or something. So I saw them on crutches the next day. Nothing super awful, but that was the Friday PT, was that like 40-some mile Ruck March. And again, part of it is they want to see you pushing yourself and they want to see you motivated. They know for a lot of people it's going to be hard. They know it's going to be challenging. But somebody even got a challenge coin where you do something, you keep a positive attitude, you go above and beyond, you can possibly get a challenge coin from the class, which is actually a pretty cool thing to get. And they got it because they were kind of moaning and groaning in the sense that it was tough for them, but they were even telling other people, like, push on, like, let's do this. And they were staying towards the front. So they even, got a challenge coin for their positive attitude. Okay, so that's basically it for PT. We only PT twice that week. So that wasn't anything too horribly crazy. Don't freak out a lot about the PT. I mean, it should be challenging, and it will be challenging. But they're not here to kill you with it. Okay, let's see. My first day, I had none of the trainers, so it was basically just class, fairly well all day. I had photos. So while you're here, you will take photos. They have a little photo gallery in the basement of King Hall. And, for us, we put our service whites on. Now, if it's not the summertime, maybe they'll have you put your dress blues on, but you will get into one of your dressier uniforms. Here I can be a dork, and this was, there's me. Yeah, I know that one. It kind of looks like a serial killer, I feel like sometimes, but you go down and, there's a little photo studio. They've got a flag behind you. If you have glasses, maybe wear contacts for it because you get some really bad reflections off of it. I ended up not getting any photos, because I kept seeing reflections on my glasses. But they'll have some where you have your cover on, you have your cover off. They have a sword that they'll sometimes give you to hold on to or put in front of you or pose down. So they'll take something like 10 or 12 different portraits. And then later in the week, I think my photos were taken on Monday, I want to say. And that'll be scheduled out over the course of 4 or 5 days. They'll schedule everybody down to take your photos. You'll show up, you'll take your photos, and then later in the week they'll also schedule 4 or 5 days for you to come and review your proofs and decide if you want them. So I went and I reviewed my proofs on, I think it was Friday. There'll just be a sign-up sheet. You just remember what you signed up for because you sign up and the sheet will be gone the next day. So make sure you remember. And they put all the proofs out in front of you. If you wanted the class picture, which is a headshot of every single class member, and then they're also, I guess, going to take one big photo of everybody all together at graduation, that is $40 plus shipping, which is $12. So I got that. That was $52. And then they have a variety of packages for the individual photos if you want prints. The one that a lot of people purchased was the digital package, where you get all the prints, you get all the rights, all digital. And that was around $260 for that, plus I'm sure some sort of tax or something. So just under $300. And a lot of people got that. They liked that. I didn't get it just because of the glasses reflections. And like I said, I think I looked like Ted Bundy in most of mine. So I said no. I also got a hold of a local photographer. I asked around to about 4 or 5 different ones, and I found one to meet up with after graduation. So I can get pictures in different uniforms, and then my family will be there also. And I found one that charged me $350 for an hour session, and I'll get all the digital prints. So if you want to get these here, it's nice, it's convenient, it's while you're here. But if you have time, you might look for that weekend if you're not flying out immediately to maybe find a local photographer. The price can range, though. I had a few people quote me $1,000 for that 1 hour. But when I found one at $350, I jumped on that. So that's what I'm doing for photos. Okay. Otherwise, the classes that you will do that week, when you're not in a trainer, they had one that was over different types of leadership styles. They also talked about group dynamics. So the old forming, storming, norming, performing type of thing. How you will interact with people, how you motivate people, talking about how some people may need the drill sergeant type of mentality where you have to yell and scream at them. But then you can also have more. That's not how a lot of the military is, honestly. It's not people constantly going out yelling and screaming to get people done. That's not how it's done in the fleet. So don't think that's what military life is like. Now, yes, when you're in boot camp or you're in training, there's going to be an element of that. But out in the fleet or in the reserves, it is not like that at all. It is very much so, much more, there's a lot of respect, of course, but the common courtesies and the politeness and the respect that you see on the civilian side are also on the military side as well. So they will talk about those leadership styles. Let's see. We went over, service records and evaluation. So how you look up your service record. How you see your fit reps. They'll talk about how you see how you were ranked. There is a ranking system basically for people that are in your peer group. So if you're a nurse, you're only going to be judged against other nurses, not all the nurses. And you're also only going to be ranked against other nurses of your rank, so other ensigns or lieutenant JGs, whatever your rank is. So seeing how to look those up, also talking about how to promote getting collateral duties, just how to read your fit reps, how to get a mentor, the difference between promote, must promote, early promote. So a lot of that, it was, more administrative, especially for people, if you're planning on making the military a longer career. If you're only going to be in for 4, 6, 8 years, then you may not worry about that as much, especially the lower ranks from ensign to lieutenant JG, which is 01 to 02, and then JG to full lieutenant, which is 02 to 03. Those are automatic promotions after 2 years. You're an 01 for 2 years, and then you're a lieutenant JG. You do that for 2 years, and then you become a lieutenant, and then that's where the boards actually come in. So to make it to 04, lieutenant commander, for most people, you have to go through a selection board then, and you're competing. Not everybody's going to get it. Now, some people may get out at that point and they don't want to stay in. But if you want to stay in for, much longer, especially if you want to try to hit the 20 years for retirement or beyond, then you're going to need to think about those things. So that's as much as I'll say about that. It was more of the admin side. After that, there was dental this week. I don't know if they always do dental, so you may or may not have dental when you get here, but essentially they brought us, my group, they brought everybody in. You had to go and you had to get x-rays. I actually made up my Facebook profile for a little while, so there you go, that's me. I've got a few crowns, you can see a couple root canals, but they'll take your x-rays. And then you will go in and you will see a dentist as well, who will do a physical examination. And it's basically to see what is your dental health like. Do you have any immediate needs? So do you have any current cavities? Do you have any obvious root canals that need to be done, etc.? So they're going to look up and see if you have any immediate needs, talk to you about it. And actually, this week they were also trying to schedule people in for those needs. So if you end up needing to get a cavity filled, or let's say, I actually do know somebody who needed a root canal and they can't do it on this base. They actually had to send them out to a civilian dentist, but they were trying to take care of that. So that's great if that's the case. But I did all mine with my civilian dentist. So get here early for the dental because I luckily got in and I was sitting in the first 2 rows. So I got in and out in about an hour. But if you're sitting in one of the back rows, in total, there was probably, let's say, there's probably about 50 of us. Yeah, it was about a quarter of the class. They were probably here for 4 or 5 hours just waiting. So try to get here early to not have to mess with dental a bunch. Okay, after dental, the more, let's say, fun stuff, you will go to what they call the wet trainer, which is the USS Buttercup. So you can actually go in, you can Google that, and you can see photos of it. It's a damage trainer. So it's sort of like a little mock ship. Well, I don't want to call it little. It's still probably about 2 stories high. So it's really cool. You go into this big room, and they have this 2-story tall ship section in there. The point is to how to do damage control. So if there is different types of damage to the ship, if there's like just a big tear down the side of the ship, how you would patch that up, or if something were to fly through the ship and create a hole, either like a hole that's flush and smooth or one that has little jagged edges coming out around it. What are the different patches that you can put on that? And what do those patches look like? And then a whole bunch of bracing techniques. So if you have let's say a hatch that water is going to come pouring up through, or a door that you can't completely seal and you need to brace it, they show you these techniques of just using wood and 2x4s and 4x4s and, wedges and hammers, to create braces. And it's a team of people. So it's not just you doing this. You usually always have a team. But essentially everybody goes onto the top of the Buttercup. There's a whole safety process you all talk about. And there's a classroom portion beforehand where they go over details and talk about all of this beforehand. But yeah, you start up, you get on top of the ship. They do a little mock announcement of, incoming missiles or incoming torpedoes, and everybody goes to one side and they brace, and it actually has the capability to tilt the ship slightly, so you can even feel the ship, move by something like 5 or 10 degrees. And then you can look down into down the ladder well in the ship, and you just see water starting to pour in. It's not freezing cold. I couldn't guess the immediate temperature, but it wasn't anything awful. It's not like freezing cold ocean water that you're down in. So and then they divvy everybody up. They say, you're going to be on this team, you're going to be on this team, you're going to be on this team, and they send people down to assess the damage. They have basically like a scene leader, and when they find your type of damage, then they're going to call your team and say, all right, go down there and you got to fix it. So you and your team member, grab your equipment and go down into the ship, and you'll probably be in water that's about waist deep. It didn't come up to like chest height, but I'd say somewhere around like waist or abdomen deep. You don't have to swim, and then do your repair. So, and like I said, the water's not super awful or super cold or anything. So it was something that I actually enjoyed. Now, do take it seriously, because you are learning how to repair a ship if this were to actually occur. But and we did that a couple times. So that was something enjoyable. I really liked that. And then we also did the firefighting trainer as well. That was what was that? I think that was Thursday for me. And that's just what you would think a mini day of being a firefighter. So again, you go into a classroom and you go through, it's like maybe hour and a half, 2 hours of lecture talking about different fire dangers on a ship and showing you the equipment, what it means, what a fire needs to burn, and the different types of extinguishers and chemicals that they use, and then the gear that you're going to be putting on, and then you're gonna do it. They have a whole building that is like 3-4 stories tall, and you'll suit up like a firefighter. You'll go out and you'll get the whole firefighting gear, the big jumpsuit and the boots and the gloves, and even the mask, the breathing apparatus, and you'll go get an oxygen tank, and you'll go out into the big bay. There's a whole bunch of safety demonstrations, right? There's multiple instructors around the whole time. And you'll see what it looks like to have a loose hose that's just whipping around and what you do to control it. If a piece of weaponry like a bomb were to catch on fire, and then they take you even into these rooms as a team, when you have your mask up and you've got the oxygen going and flowing, show you how to hold the hose and the different commands and how to brace each other. And then, what was it? We did a galley, how to put out a galley fire. And then there was a whole room fire where everybody will get a chance to be at every part of the hose, including the nozzleman. And then you're sitting there and you're spraying the hose, and they're largely telling you what to do, and they've got a light and they're showing you where to shine it. You're not going to be certified as a firefighter, but it's to get you at least some basic training in it. So again, that was something, it was a good experience. It was overall enjoyable, but at the same point, it was a little bit hot and stressful, because it is, a big suit, fireproof suit that you're wearing, and I've never had that sort of breathing apparatus before, so it's sweaty and heavy, and a little. I guess I was maybe a little anxious putting it on. But it all turned out well, and again, they're watching you every step of the way. So yeah, that was the firefighting trainer that happened. That's an all-day event as well. And then you also have just a lot of what they're basically calling admin time. So this is where we got in trouble. Well, also during some of the trainers. So you need to take the trainers seriously, and you need to take safety very seriously. I guess at some point we had somebody take their gloves off in the actual room where the fires were happening because they wanted to take a photo. So they got chewed out royally, like they should have. And then I think during the Buttercup, there were some people that were almost treating it like an amusement park ride. They were being a little bit too flippant, as the actual instructors said. So that, of course, that gets back to the class team. Like, they tell the class team how we're doing. So that was not good. And then during the admin time, the thought is you're supposed to be prepping for the khaki inspection this week. So Friday of week 4, you will have your khaki inspection. So that's where you put on your khaki uniform and everything has to be perfect. Any string that they find, if your belt isn't exactly, I actually got a hit because my belt was off just slightly by probably half a centimeter maybe. There's so many little things, but they tell you about it. They tell you what to do and how to prepare for these things. All the measurements, 1/4 of an inch here, 1/2 of an inch there. They're going to be looking at all that. But the biggest thing that they care about is what you should have been studying for these 4 weeks, and hopefully before you can go to ODS. And that's your gouge sheet, right? That's all of this that has the articles of the Code of Conduct on it. The Anchors Away song, the 15 leadership traits, what's the Navy's birthday, what are the general orders of the century, what is the phonetic alphabet, what is your chain of command, starting all the way down from your company division officer all the way up to the President of the United States. What's the mission of the Navy, what's the oath of office, what's the sailor's creed. They have a little saying for discipline as well. So they want you to know all of that. And you've had 4 weeks to study it. And then this week, during that admin time, you probably have 6 is probably too low. You probably have more like 8 to 12 hours of total downtime from Monday to Thursday, which normally you have almost 0 downtime. So it was huge, but the class was walking through, and there were a lot of people that were just sleeping, that were just in their racks, right, their beds, watching movies. A senior chief came through and saw some people. It didn't look like they were doing anything. And he asked them, "What are you doing?" And they said, "Oh, we're booking hotels for Boston." Because they just assumed that we were all going to be going to Boston this weekend and that they were going to get to stay overnight. And let me tell you now, overnight liberty is pretty much unheard of while you're here. Do not expect, until you graduate, expect to spend every single night here in your rack. It is very, I don't know if it's ever happened. I'm not going to say it's impossible. If your class is amazing, maybe they would give it to you week 4. It would only be possible week 4, but you would have to really be good. But they told the chief that they were looking at hotels in Boston and they were planning their liberty instead of studying their gouge sheet, or working on their case study report. Just stupid. So yeah, I'll tell you about that in a little bit when we talk about the liberty. Okay, and then I think the last thing would just be the khaki inspection. So yeah, let me go down to the khaki inspection for Friday. Which day was Friday? Okay, so that one, it was right in the morning. So we basically had the PT ruck march in the morning. We went to breakfast, and then we had a formal khaki and room inspection. So they inspected our rooms, and we knew about it while we were out. And then we all marched over to the hall. I'm forgetting the name of it now, like K Hall, I think is what they call it. Just sort of like a big auditorium, gymnasium type room. And we've been practicing it all week. So everybody gets in rows and columns, and there's a process they teach you of commands, and all at the same time, everybody has to salute. They'll come through, they'll look at your salute, and they'll correct it if it needs be. And then the chiefs will go down the line, person by person, and they will look at each and every one of you and spend time on each one of you. And while they are looking at your uniform, so they're doing things like turning your collar up, looking for strings or anything like that, or what they call contraband. So like if you have like little fuzzies and you didn't lint roll enough, then they'll pick that off and they'll say contraband. And while they're doing that, they're asking you knowledge questions. So they'll say, what's the second verse of Anchors Aweigh? Or what is the 8th general order of the century? What does an O2 in the Marine Corps wear on his collar, right? You have to know you're supposed to know the rank structure of both the Navy and the Marines, and then what they wear on their collar, and then like what they wear on their sleeves as well. So they can ask you those questions also. And if you get it right, great. If not, then that's a knowledge hit. So for every issue they find on your uniform, or they can ask you, I think, up to 3 knowledge questions. If you get them wrong, then you get a hit, right, which is like a mark against you. And if you get, it's either 6 or more than 6. 6 is the number, so 6 or more than 6, one of those, then you fail the inspection. So, and really, what they have even told us they focus on is the knowledge. If they ask you your questions and you know your stuff, even if you're not 100% perfect, like they asked me who was the 11th person in my chain of command, and I got the person's name right, but I got his rank wrong. But they still saw that I knew it. I made a mistake on part of it. Or one of the verses, I got the first half of the verse, but not the second half of the verse. They're going to be a little bit more lenient or generous on your uniform inspection. But if you just know nothing, if you don't know anything that they ask you, then, well, for one, that's automatically like 3 hits that you've taken. And then finding 3 to 4 more hits to make you fail is not really that hard if they really dig in and look at your uniform. Some people did get perfects. We had maybe 8 to 10 people out of 180 that had perfect uniform inspections. But most people, did get several hits. I don't know the number of failures yet. That hasn't been released. So if I remember, I'll try to say that for the next video. But in total, that process is 2.5 hours long. And you're just standing there at attention the whole time. Oh, your bearing. That's another thing that they look at is, are you able to stand there and do the 1,000-yard stare and stay at attention? Or are you looking around? Are you, are your eyes wandering? Do you have excessive movement? I think during one of my Anchors Aweigh songs, I guess maybe I started to sway a little bit as I was thinking about the song or kind of singing it out loud. So I got a bearing hit for that because I started to like sway to the music. I guess you're not allowed to like hip hop while you're at attention. Go figure. I think I passed though. I think I got 5 hits. I think I passed. And then what else? Oh, and then we had an exam review. So for about 30, 40 minutes, they took us in and they kind of gave us some questions and things that we should know. Actually, as soon as I finish this video, I'm going to probably do that for an hour and a half, 2 hours. I'm going to go through and study some exam questions some more. So they will talk about some of what you need to know for the exam. The exam itself, I haven't taken it yet. It's Monday. It is 50 questions, 70% to pass. So for you math whizzes out there, you can miss up to 15, right? So 35 is 70. 70% of 50 is 35. So you have to get 35 questions right. They've said, I think only maybe one person has ever failed it. It's not supposed to be super hard. I haven't taken it yet, but we'll see. But yeah, and it's multiple choice. It's all on the computer. You're not allowed any notes. It's, no books, no references, nothing like that. So yeah, that'll be Monday. I'm sure I'll have something to say about that. Okay, and now Liberty. So because of those things that I talked about with people, those reports from the fire trainer and the wet trainer, and then the people who were just not using the admin time very intelligently and talking about booking hotels and sleeping. So they were overall very disappointed in our class and how we were behaving, basically saying that it was obvious that we were only trying to be here to check a box, right? We have to go to ODS, we need this, this, and this to pass. So they want to see more motivation than that. They want to see more initiative and drive. People trying to set up meetings with mentors or other officers. They're like, you had this whole week that you could have been out meeting people or talking to people or studying, and none of you did, or like almost nobody did. It's like everybody just stayed in their racks and just did the minimum and didn't put any extra effort forth. So, for one, we had a report that we were assigned that we had to write, and it was to talk about the 15 leadership traits and why they are important, and what happens if we don't have them, if the Navy does not have those leadership traits in its officers. And then let's see, what was the last part? Oh, what's the trait or traits that you struggle with, and how will you address those issues? Minimum 1 page, single spaced. I did mine. It was maybe a page and a half, 2 pages. Took me, I don't know, a few hours to do it in total. So we had that report, and then our liberty was noticeably curtailed. We were not given overnight liberty. So on Friday, our liberty was base only. We were not allowed off base on Friday. If we had been good or better, we would have at least been allowed probably out into Newport and the surrounding town. But we were not. So Friday was base only liberty until 9 o'clock, basically, and then you have to come back. Saturday and Sunday, we were given 100-mile radius liberty. So essentially, you can get all the way. If you want to go to Providence, you can go there. But where most people would go was Boston. So if you wanted to go to Boston, you could do that. And every day you have to eat breakfast with the class or with your company. But liberty started right after breakfast, and it went until 1800 or 6 o'clock, which is early. Ideally, we probably would have had at least 9 o'clock, if not even later. You know, I've heard of liberties going until 10, 11 o'clock, maybe even as late as, not past midnight. You're not going to get past midnight, but, you know, we probably could have gotten 9, 10, 11 o'clock, end of liberty. But no, our liberty was a 100-mile radius. It was from breakfast to 6 p.m. And then at 6 p.m., we all had to come back to King Hall. You have to muster, so your wing commander has to see you and count you. And then for the next 3 hours, you have on-base liberty. So from 6 to 9, if you want to do something on base, like go to the necks or go out and run, or basically they probably want you here studying. That's why they did it. You could do that. So that kind of sucked. I did end up going to Boston with a few friends, and we went to the USS Constitution and the Cason Young, which are both old Navy ships. They're right next to each other. I had a great time. If you get a chance, I would say do it. And they're also free for military. But we had also wanted to go to Paul Revere's house, or maybe to it's called like the Stewart Garden Museum. Those are also free to military as well. And then a lot of people wanted to go to the ball game. There were Red Sox games both days. But the one on Saturday didn't start till 4. So, and a bunch of people had tickets. I mean, not like 100, but I mean, a couple dozen at least, like 2 to 3 dozen people had tickets that they'd already purchased for this game, around $90 to $100 a piece. And they couldn't go, right? Boston's about an hour and a half-ish away. And then you got to get time to get onto base and like walk back or drive back if somebody has a car. So by 4 p.m., you better be leaving, or you better be out of Boston by then. So unfortunately, the ball game got nixed for pretty much everybody. But still, we got to go. It was fun. You know, I enjoyed seeing the ships and touring them. We had some cannolis. There's a lot of great food there, so if you get a chance to eat there. I wish we'd had more time, but that's what we had because people did that. We had to pay our mess bill, so you do have to pay for your food here, but it's not super expensive. For your whole time at ODS, The mess bill was it was under $500. It was like $490, something like that. So be prepared for that. They take card only, so you have to go into NAHAL, find your name on the list, sign off, and then you use your card and pay for your bill. And like I said, it's like a hair under $500. At least it was for us, but when you come here, it may change. So it's a hair under $500. We had to vote for the Student Leadership Award. So whatever leadership means to you, they had a little chest and you write a name on it and you put it in the box. So we needed to vote for that. We're still continuing to work on the mural. We did get our class t-shirts in. So once you get your class shirts in, you can start to PT in that. So instead of wearing this lovely shirt, you can wear your class shirt instead for PT. So a lot of people have done that as well. So yeah, now we are just, by week 3 we had alcohol. So week 4 was the same. We could also drink, but they always have their 0013 policy, which is 0 drinks if you're driving, 0 drinks if you're under 21. Or is it 0031? You can basically have 1 drink per hour. Oh, that's it. Yeah. 1 drink per hour and up to 3 drinks in a single night. Yeah, pretty sure that's it. Single night. They don't want you getting hammered. So, if people wanted to drink, they could do that. Otherwise, we did a lot of, floor, I guess I'd call it floor bonding. That was kind of fun. We had somebody who, they ordered pizza for the entire floor. We were going to pay for it, but this person just decided to pay for everybody. So we got like 8 pizzas in that were delivered. So that was neat. We went down, there's some vending machines here. We bought some sodas and then we just sat out in the hallway and talked and ate pizza, with our wing. So you'll probably get to know your wing the best, which will probably be 30 to 40 people in size. That was a lot of fun. We had people telling amazing stories, especially the priors. They just have amazing stories to tell about their time. One guy had in Afghanistan, they had bug fights that they were doing. Somebody would get a bug and keep it, and somebody else would get a bug and they'd make a little ring and make these bugs fight, and interesting tales. And then tonight it was something similar. They ordered a bunch of Chinese food and some people bought a whole bunch of pints or half gallons or something of ice cream. So we were just sitting out in the hallway eating ice cream, and people are like, "What's your favorite thing about being on this floor?" And everybody is like, "It's you guys." Very kumbaya. But I hope if you're coming here, it'll be similar for you. I've said time and time again, try to have a positive attitude. Try to not fight with people. Try to not bicker. Part of the Liberty Brief is they said that they'd heard reports some people were making basically prejudiced comments, like racial comments. There was somebody making sexual orientation comments. Somebody outright made an anti-trans comment, and I'll tell you, there's a trans person on my floor. Amazing person. I think will be an amazing officer. And, the person who made the comment didn't know, but they made it when they were standing right there. And it's just, crap like that is, it does not abide by the core tenets of the Navy. It is not officer-like. So having those sort of prejudices, you either need to educate yourself or you need to basically thank you for your service and get out. So I'm very disappointed to hear that things like that were made. But no, it's been, I've had a great time with my floor. I hope for those of you that are going to be coming, you will as well. Try not to bicker, I had watch today, which sucked, when you have watch, cause you can't leave the hall really. But still, try to keep a positive attitude. I was pissed about having watch. I was pissed about Liberty, and that getting curtailed, but in the end, you shrug your shoulders and say, I'm going to make the best of it. So, all right. I think that's about it. And I still probably have a good hour or so of studying I want to get done before I go to bed. So if you have any questions, feel free to post them up. And, wow, I've only got one more video, to post. And by the time you see me next, I will be done with ODS. So have a good night, and I will see you again soon.